All right, so imagine a world where like your friendly customer service chatbot ends up, landing your company a massive lawsuit.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds a little crazy,
This
right?
does.
But this is like the reality that businesses are facing as AI becomes more and more integrated into, well, everything.
It really is.
So we're diving deep today into the legal side of AI.
Okay.
And trust me, it's a lot more exciting than it might sound at first.
Absolutely. It's true. This stuff is like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, except it's happening right now.
Yeah.
And the material that we're going to be using to kind of guide us through this deep dive is actually marketing material.
Okay.
From a Spanish law firm called MCHM Abogados.
Interesting.
They're based in Almeria.
Okay.
And they work with all kinds of businesses, from small startups to big corporations.
Got it.
Who are trying to figure out this whole AI legal landscape.
So let's set the stage for a second.
Yeah.
AI is everywhere, right?
It is.
It's in our phones. It's, making decisions about loans. It's in our cars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's everywhere.
It is.
But are businesses really ready for the legal side of things?
That is the million-dollar question. And to be totally honest, the answer is often no. We're talking about a whole new set of legal challenges that most companies just haven't even thought about yet.
All right, so let's get specific.
Okay.
What are some of the biggest risks that businesses are facing when it comes to AI?
So especially in the EU,
Okay.
there is something called the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation.
Right.
Which is a really, really huge factor in all of this.
Okay.
It basically sets some very strict rules for how companies are allowed to collect and use personal data.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about it, AI is all about data.
Right. AI systems need massive amounts of data
They do.
to learn and make decisions.
Absolutely.
So how does the GDPR come into play there?
So, for example, imagine you're a business and you're building an AI chatbot for customer service.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is actually the exact scenario that MCHM Abogados lays out in their material. So you think, okay, chatbot, that seems harmless enough, right?
Totally.
But that chatbot is going to be collecting personal data from people.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's doing that without their consent, or it's using that data for things that go beyond what the user agreed to,
right,
you could be in a lot of trouble.
Like how much trouble?
Okay, so under the GDPR,
Okay.
fines can be up to 4% of a company's annual global turnover.
Whoa. Okay, so we're talking serious money here.
We are for a large company that could be billions of euros.
Billions with a B.
With a B.
Okay, so that's not just a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
That's like a potential business ender.
Absolutely. And it's not just, a hypothetical thing either.
Right.
There was a recruiting firm that was recently fined 2 million euros
Wow.
for using an algorithm that discriminated against women in the hiring process.
Really?
All because they didn't consider the legal and ethical implications of their AI.
So it's not enough to just kind of throw AI at a problem and hope for the best. You've got to think about this stuff from the very beginning.
Absolutely.
Okay, so these are some big, scary issues, obviously. But are there solutions? Are there ways to avoid this kind of stuff?
That's where firms like this one MCHM Abogados come in.
Okay.
They specialize in helping businesses navigate all of these complex legal questions.
Got it. So let's talk about some of the services that they offer.
Okay.
They mentioned something called algorithm audits.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Algorithm audit is basically like taking your AI to the doctor for a checkup.
Okay.
It's a really deep dive into your AI system to identify any potential risks.
Like what?
Okay, so for example, let's go back to that chatbot that we were talking about.
Okay, the customer service chatbot.
Yes.
Okay.
An algorithm audit might reveal that your chatbot is actually discriminating.
Unintentionally?
Unintentionally, right?
Yeah.
Against certain groups of customers.
Based on what?
Based on their demographics or maybe their past interactions with the company.
That would be bad.
Yeah, it would be very bad.
And that's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Exactly.
So an audit can catch those things
Right.
before they become major problems.
It's the whole point of it.
It's like a preventative measure
Yes.
to make sure your AI is playing by the rules.
Playing by the rules from day one.
Okay.
And the really cool thing is this firm, they actually have a real-world example of this.
Well, tell me.
They worked with a bank whose lending algorithm was unfairly denying loans to people from minority groups.
Wow.
They adjusted the algorithm to ensure that it was making decisions based on actual financial criteria
Okay.
and not on biased data.
So they actually fixed a real problem.
They did.
Wow. That's a great example of how these legal services can have like a really big impact on people's lives.
It really shows you that AI, while it is very powerful,
Yeah.
it needs to be implemented very carefully.
With real thought given to the ethics of it all.
Absolutely.
So algorithm audits.
Are just one piece of the puzzle.
What else? What other services have we talked about?
Another really key area is contracts and AI usage policies.
So like internal policy.
Internal and external.
Okay.
So think about it. If you're a business and you're working with an AI provider,
Right.
you need a contract in place that very clearly outlines who is responsible for what.
Makes sense.
And what happens, if something goes wrong.
Right. So you don't want to end up in some kind of sticky situation down the road.
Exactly.
Because you didn't have the legal groundwork laid out.
You got it. And then there are the internal policies.
Okay.
So you need to be thinking about setting some very clear guidelines
Okay.
for how your employees are using these AI tools.
Right.
What kind of data are they allowed to access?
Yeah.
What decisions can they make using those tools?
So it's not just about controlling the AI. It's about managing like the human element as well.
Exactly.
Oh.
And of course, let's not forget about GDPR compliance.
Right.
This firm helps businesses make sure that their AI projects are collecting, storing, and using data in a way that respects user privacy and stays in line with those very strict EU regulations.
And that's the one with the massive fines.
That's the one.
Millions of euros.
Yes. In fact, they actually have a story in their materials about how they helped a startup avoid a 1.5 million euro fine.
Oh, wow.
For improper data processing.
Okay.
They came in and they made sure that the startup was complying with all of the key GDPR principles.
Okay, so they're like the AI legal superheroes swooping in to save the day.
You could say that. And they even delve into this really interesting world of intellectual property and AI.
Oh, yeah, this is a big one.
It is.
Who owns creations made by AI?
Right.
It's like something out of a science fiction novel.
It is.
You've got AI systems writing poetry, composing music, designing products. It's incredible, but it's also legally murky.
It is, and it gets really complicated when you start to think about the different types of AI involved.
Right.
So you have algorithms, machine learning models, AI-assisted creation tools. Where do you draw the line?
So, for example, let's say our chatbot company decides to use AI to generate some marketing content. Maybe they want the AI to write some catchy slogans or create some visuals. Who owns the rights to that stuff?
That is the million-dollar question, and unfortunately, there is no easy answer.
Really?
The law is still trying to catch up with technology in this area.
So it's the Wild West out there.
Kind of?
But that doesn't mean that businesses can just kind of throw caution to the wind.
No.
And do whatever they want.
They need to be proactive about protecting their intellectual property, even if the legal rules are still a bit fuzzy.
So what are some things they can do?
Okay, so this law firm, MCHM Abogados, they suggest a couple of different strategies.
Okay.
They say that companies might want to consider registering copyrights for AI-generated content.
Even if it's not clear who the author is?
Even if it's not entirely clear who the legal author is,
Interesting.
it's a way to establish at least some level of ownership and protection.
So you're kind of staking your claim?
Yeah.
Even if like the boundaries are still being drawn?
Exactly. And they also talk about protecting the AI systems themselves.
Okay.
So that means things like patenting algorithms, keeping machine learning models as trade secrets,
Okay.
and using really strong contracts
Right.
to protect your intellectual property when you're working with a third-party AI provider.
It sounds like a complex dance, but it's a necessary one
It is.
if you want to use AI safely.
Absolutely.
So we've talked about a lot so far.
We have.
The potential risks,
Mm-hmm.
the GDPR,
Mm-hmm.
algorithm audits,
Yes.
data, privacy, biometric data.
Mm-hmm.
My head is spinning.
It is a lot to take in.
I think the key takeaway here is that legal preparedness
Yes.
when it comes to AI is absolutely essential.
It is no longer move fast and break things.
Break it.
Breaking things could cost you millions of euros.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So what's next on this AI legal adventure?
What other twists and turns await us?
Let's find out. Well, one of the most fascinating aspects of this whole, AI law thing is the issue of intellectual property. I mean, who owns a creation that was made by AI?
It's like something out of a science fiction novel.
It really is.
You got these AI systems writing poetry, composing music, designing products.
It's incredible.
But it's also legally very, very murky.
Very murky, and it gets even more complicated when
Yeah.
you start thinking about all the different types of AI
Right.
that are involved. So you have algorithms, machine learning models, these AI-assisted creation tools.
Right.
Where do you draw the line?
Yeah, where do you even begin to draw the line?
So, for example, let's go back to our chatbot company.
Okay.
Let's say they decide to use AI to generate some marketing content.
Okay, yeah, like writing some catchy slogans.
Exactly.
Or creating some visuals.
Yeah, who owns the rights to that stuff?
That's a good question.
That is the million-dollar question.
Right.
And unfortunately, there is no easy answer.
Really?
The law is really struggling to keep up with technology in this area.
So it's kind of a Wild West situation.
It kind of is.
But that doesn't mean that businesses can just ignore it.
No, absolutely not.
They have to be smart about this.
They need to be proactive about protecting their IP.
Okay, so what can they do?
Well, this law firm, MCHM Abogados,
Okay.
they recommend a couple of strategies.
Oh.
One thing they say is you might want to consider registering copyrights for AI-generated content.
Even if it's not clear who the author is?
Even if it's not clear, who the legal author is.
That's interesting.
It's at least a way to establish some level of ownership and protection. And they also talk about protecting the AI systems themselves.
Okay.
So that means things like patenting your algorithms, keeping those machine learning models as trade secrets, and then using really, really strong contracts.
To protect your IP when you're working with third-party providers.
Exactly.
It's something a very, very delicate dance.
It is.
But a necessary one.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about this issue of intellectual property.
Right.
Which is a really thorny one.
It is.
But there's also this broader issue of, the pace of change.
Yes.
When it comes to AI and the law.
Absolutely.
Right? Technology moves at, lightning speed.
It does.
And the law tends to be a little bit more,
a little bit slower.
Deliberate, shall we say.
Yeah.
So how can businesses stay ahead of the curve?
That is a great question.
Right, because it feels like by the time a law is passed or a legal precedent is set, technology's already moved on.
It often it's like trying to hit a moving target.
It is.
So one of the things I think businesses can do is just cultivate this mindset of continuous learning.
So it's not enough to kind of get your legal ducks in a row once and then forget about it.
You can't do that.
You got to really stay on top of things.
Absolutely. AI law is not static.
Right.
It's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
New regulations, court decisions, guidelines are coming out all the time.
So businesses need to kind of invest in the resources and the training to make sure they're getting good information.
Yeah.
So that could mean hiring in-house legal counsel that specializes in AI.
It could.
Or partnering with a firm like this one.
Yeah, like MCHM Abogados.
To get that kind of expert guidance.
Having that specialized expertise is really crucial.
Yeah.
Especially for businesses that are really heavily investing in AI.
It's like having a guide in this uncharted territory.
It is.
Someone who knows the lay of the land.
And can steer you away from the cliffs.
Exactly.
Speaking of cliffs,
let's
go back to our chatbot example.
Okay, yeah.
We talked about data privacy. We talked about bias, intellectual property. What about liability?
Yeah. What happens if the chatbot gives out some bad advice?
Exactly.
And somebody loses money because of it?
That is a fantastic question.
Right.
And it's one that the courts are still figuring out.
So who is responsible in that situation?
Right. Is it the company that developed the chatbot?
Okay.
Is it the company that deployed it?
Okay.
Is it the employee who is using the chatbot?
It's like a game of legal hot potato.
It really is. And the answer often is, it depends.
On what?
It depends on the specific facts of the case.
Okay.
The terms of the contract and the laws in that jurisdiction.
Okay, so it's complicated.
It is.
But let's say our chatbot company wants to be extra cautious.
Okay.
What can they do to minimize that liability risk?
Well, first of all, they need to make sure that their chatbot is thoroughly tested.
Yeah, make sure it's working properly.
Make sure it's giving accurate information.
Like a quality control process.
Exactly. And they also need to be really, really clear about the limitations of the chatbot.
Right. It's not a human.
It's not a human.
It's not going to be perfect.
It's not going to be perfect, and users need to know that.
Right.
They need to know that this is not a human expert.
Right.
And they should always consult with a real person for important decisions.
So you're setting realistic expectations.
Exactly.
You're not overselling what the chatbot can do.
Exactly. And it's also really important to have a plan in place for dealing with errors. Right.
Or complaints.
So like a process for investigating, resolving disputes,
Absolutely,
making amends if necessary.
You got it. And of course, liability insurance is never a bad idea.
It's like a safety net.
It is. It can provide financial protection if something does go wrong.
It sounds like a lot to think about.
It is, but it's better to be safe than sorry.
Especially when the stakes are so high.
Especially when the stakes are so high. And,
Yeah.
This whole conversation about liability,
Yeah.
it brings up another really interesting point
Okay, what's that?
about AI and the law.
Yeah.
And that is explainability.
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 Okay, I haven't heard that one before.
So as AI systems get more and more complex,
Right, they're kind of black boxes.
they are. It can be really hard to understand how they're making decisions.
Yeah, like how did it come to that conclusion?
Exactly.
There you go.
And that could be a real problem from a legal perspective.
How so?
Okay, so imagine you're a company and
Yeah.
you've been accused of discrimination.
Because of your AI hiring system,
Okay, yeah.
you need to be able to explain how that system is making its decisions
Right.
to defend yourself.
To prove that you're not discriminating.
Exactly. If you can't explain it, you're in big trouble.
So explainability is about being able to, trace the AI's thought process
Yes,
back to its source
it is.
and understand the logic behind it.
And this is becoming more and more important as AI is being used in all kinds of high-stakes situations.
Right, healthcare, finance.
Criminal justice.
Yeah, those are big ones.
They are.
So if an AI is going to make decisions that could impact people's lives,
Mm-hmm.
we have to understand how it's coming to those decisions.
We do, and that's why there's this big movement
Okay.
within the AI community to develop these more transparent and explainable AI systems.
So it's not just about building AI that works.
No.
It's about building AI that we can understand and trust.
Exactly. And that trust is absolutely essential for
Yeah.
AI to be adopted widely.
Right, people aren't going to use it
They're not.
if they don't trust it.
Exactly. It's like a self-driving car.
Okay.
If you don't trust the AI that's behind the wheel,
Yeah,
you're never going to get in that car.
you're going to be walking everywhere.
Exactly. And, this whole conversation about explainability and trust,
Yeah.
it really ties into another important aspect of AI law,
What's that?
and that is human oversight.
Human oversight.
Human oversight.
Okay, so tell me about this.
So as AI becomes more autonomous,
More independent.
more independent, yeah,
Okay.
there's this growing concern that we're giving up too much control
Right.
to these machines.
We're losing control.
Yeah, the AI is going to become so powerful
Right.
that it's going to start making decisions
Uh-oh.
that are harmful to humans.
Okay, so this is like the Terminator scenario.
It kind of is, and that's why a lot of experts believe
Okay.
that we need to maintain some level of human control
Yeah.
over these AI systems.
Especially in really critical areas
Exactly.
like healthcare and finance.
Absolutely. So it's not about letting AI run wild.
Right.
It's about having humans in the loop
Okay.
to make sure that it's being used for good.
So like a safety switch.
Yeah, a safety switch that humans can flip if necessary.
If the AI starts going off the rails.
Exactly. And this concept of human oversight,
It's become more common.
it's being baked into AI regulations and guidelines all around the world.
It makes sense.
It does.
We want to stay in control,
We do.
even as AI becomes more and more powerful.
Absolutely. And this whole conversation
Yeah.
about human oversight,
Brings us back to our chatbot.
it does.
One more time.
So how can they incorporate
And,
human oversight into their system?
Okay, so what can our chatbot company do?
Well, one thing they could do
Hmm.
is have human agents available
Right.
to take over those conversations.
Right.
If the chatbot gets stuck.
Gets confused.
Yeah, or encounters a situation it can't handle.
So it's like a backup team of humans
It is ready to step
ready to save the day.
They could also have a system where certain types of chatbot decisions,
Yeah.
like ones involving financial transactions or sensitive data,
Yeah.
require a human to sign off on them.
Okay.
So you're creating checks and balances
Right.
to make sure that AI is being used responsibly.
It's all about minimizing those risks
It is.
and building trust
Exactly.
with your employees and your customers.
And it's also about recognizing that
Yeah.
AI is not a replacement.
For human judgment and empathy,
Exactly. It's a tool.
a tool that can help us,
Yes.
but it's not a silver bullet.
And I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind as
Yeah.
we continue to explore this world
Right.
of AI and the law.
So where do we go from here?
What else should we be exploring?
Okay, so we've journeyed through this wild west
We have.
of AI law.
It is a Wild West out there.
We've talked data privacy and, killer fines, robot chatbots gone rogue,
Yeah.
and even the question of, who owns a masterpiece
Right.
created by a machine.
It's a brave new world.
It really is.
And it's changing so fast
Yeah.
that most businesses are struggling to keep up.
But that's why we're here, right?
That's why we're here.
To give you the insights you need to not just survive, but to thrive in this AI-powered future.
That's right.
So let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
We've explored the risks, the challenges. What about solutions?
Yeah.
What are some practical things that businesses can do right now to make sure that their AI initiatives are both innovative and legally sound?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
Okay.
Because this law firm, MCHM Abogados, they actually lay out a really clear roadmap for businesses to follow.
All right. Tell me about it.
And it starts with a really simple but crucial step.
Okay.
Defining your goals.
Goals. Okay. So how does that tie into the legal side of things?
So think about it like this.
Okay.
You wouldn't build a house without a blueprint, right?
No, you wouldn't.
Well, the same goes for AI. You need to have a very clear understanding of what you want to achieve with AI before you even start thinking about the technical details.
So it's not just, hey, cool technology, let's use it.
No.
It's more like, what problem are we trying to solve?
Exactly.
What value are we trying to create, and how can AI help us get there?
You got it.
Okay.
And once you have those goals defined, and then you can start thinking about the legal implications.
Okay.
So for example, if your goal is to personalize customer experiences using AI, well, you need to be thinking very carefully about data privacy laws and how you're collecting and using customer data.
It's like laying the foundation before you start building the skyscraper.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so you've got your goals.
Yes.
What's next?
Another really crucial step is assembling the right team.
Right, because these projects are complex.
They require a lot of different skills.
So we need the technical people.
You need the technical experts.
The data scientists, the engineers.
Absolutely. You need the people who can build and deploy the AI.
But you also need the legal experts.
You need the legal expertise to navigate all those tricky legal questions.
And you need the business people.
Yes, you need the people who understand the market.
Right, who understand the customer.
Yes, and how AI can drive business value.
Ideally, you want all these folks working together.
You do. It's like a symphony orchestra.
Okay.
You need all the instruments playing in harmony.
To create beautiful music.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got the goals.
Yes.
We've assembled our dream team.
What's next?
What's next?
This might sound a little dry, but hear me out.
Okay.
Documentation. Contracts, policies, and procedures. Oh my.
I can feel my eyes glazing over already.
I know, but it's important.
Okay. I trust you.
So think back to our chatbot company for a second.
Okay.
If they're working with an external AI provider, they need to have a really rock-solid contract that spells out who is responsible for what, how that data is going to be handled, what happens if something goes wrong.
Right. So it's about protecting yourself.
It is.
And setting clear expectations from the beginning.
Exactly. And then there are internal policies.
Right. For your employees.
How are your employees going to use AI?
What data can they access?
What decisions are they allowed to make?
Using AI.
So again, we're talking about the human element.
We can't forget about the humans.
Absolutely. You need clear guidelines to make sure that AI is being used ethically and responsibly within your company.
Okay, so we've got the contracts.
Yes.
The policies.
Anything else?
What else is in this documentation trifecta?
One more, and it's a big one.
Okay.
Data mapping.
Data mapping, what is that?
So data mapping is all about understanding what personal data you're collecting. Where is it coming from? Where is it being stored? How is it being used? Who has access to it?
Sounds like a detective's case file for data.
It kind of is.
But why is this so important for AI?
Well, remember those data privacy laws we were talking about?
The GDPR.
The GDPR, exactly. They require companies to be very transparent about how they're handling personal data.
So data mapping helps you get your house in order.
It does.
So you can comply with those regulations.
Exactly, and avoid those huge fines.
It's like creating a detailed inventory of all your data assets.
It is.
So you know what you have and how you're using it.
And it's not just about compliance either.
Okay.
Data mapping can also help you identify potential risks, improve your data security, and even unlock new business insights.
All right, so we've laid the groundwork.
Yes.
We've assembled our team. We've got our documentation in order.
I'm feeling pretty good about our AI legal game now.
Me too.
Anything else we need to keep in mind?
What else?
One more thing, and it's something that we've touched on throughout this whole deep dive.
Okay, hit me with it.
Ongoing monitoring and review.
Right, because AI isn't something you just set and forget.
No, it's not.
It's constantly learning and evolving.
It is. And as your AI systems evolve, the legal and ethical considerations might change too.
So we have to keep up.
You need to have a process in place
Okay.
for regularly reviewing your AI initiatives.
Assessing the impact.
Yes, and making adjustments if necessary.
So it's like a continuous feedback loop.
It is. You're constantly learning, adapting, and improving.
To make sure that your AI systems stay aligned with your goals, your values, and the law.
Exactly.
Wow, what a journey this has been.
It has been quite a journey.
We've covered so much ground.
We have from the basics of AI law to the importance of having that solid legal strategy in place.
I feel like I've earned a law degree in AI.
Well, I'm glad you found it valuable.
I have.
And remember, this is really just the beginning.
Right.
The world of AI law is constantly changing, so stay curious, stay informed, and stay ahead of the curve.
Excellent advice. And for all of you listening out there,
Yes.
we hope you've enjoyed this deep dive
Into the fascinating and often mind-boggling world of AI and the law.
It's a complex landscape,
It is.
but with the right knowledge and guidance, you can navigate it successfully
Absolutely.
and harness the power of AI.
Responsibly and ethically.
I think that's a great place to wrap things up.
It is.
Thanks for joining us,
Yes. Thank you.
and we'll see you next time for another adventure.
In the world of knowledge and insight,